So, Chris Barham, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for asking me to come and talk to you today. I feel a bit embarrassed because I used to attend every SCATA meeting without fail, and then I thought I'd retired about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and I stopped attending, but sadly, amongst all the other failures in my life, I've also failed to retire. So I'm still actually practicing in the Queen Victoria, and the one thing I suppose I do know about is anaesthesia information systems, because I have 25 years experience in using them. So, just find the right key, there we are. So, I just want to start a little bit at the beginning, just to look at how anaesthesia information systems have developed, and look perhaps into the past of our anaesthetic records. This is a record, an anaesthetic record, thankfully not from the United Kingdom. You'll carefully that it's from Johns Hopkins, but it really transmits nothing. I know the resolution is pretty poor. I actually ripped it off from the medical director of Cerner Corporation, who was also using it to demonstrate the inadequacies of manual records. But the sort of paper record has developed over the years into something really that does not communicate very well. When I started anaesthetics as an SHO, we used this, the Nosworthy card, which presumably was developed at St Thomas's, and actually served very well as the front of as like the paper record, two-sided. On the front is your anaesthetic assessment, and on the back a space to record your the record of your anaesthetic. It also had the, let's find the, oops, not that one, not that one. Is it that one? Where's the pointer?
It's the big button. It's the big button.
It's the big one. That's the big one.
Yeah.
Can't use the technology, you know. Also, you see around the outside, there was some form of primitive coding of this, that the anaesthetist could tick off the various elements that were used during the anaesthetic, and then the holes were punched out with a hole puncher. So you could take a whole stack of cards, stick some missing needles through the particular holes that you wanted. So say you wanted to use basically use thiopentone on, you stick it through the thiopentone hole, and all the thiopentone cards fall out. Pretty good. So here is actually an anaesthetic record. That previous one would have been from about the 1970s. This was from the 1940s. As you see, it's actually a very well recorded anaesthetic. You can see what agent is used, closed circuit cyclo. If you look along the time scale there, every minute the anaesthetist has recorded the blood pressure and pulse. Interestingly, I only noticed this when I was looking at I see he's used an orotracheal tube under the mask. This was a well-known technique in early anaesthesia because surgeons did not like endotracheal intubation. So the anaesthetist, in particular, would put down a tube and then shove the mask on top. This was a well-known technique of this particular anaesthetist. If you look at the top, it was Ivan McGill. Brilliant, but here he was, having to give an anaesthetic, stick a tube down, put the mask on top, record the blood pressure every minute, and probably if there'd been music in theatre, he'd been winding up the gramophone with his foot as well. A lot of things to do. So, obviously, people wanted to have some better way of recording anaesthetics, and the first computerized anaesthetic record was Archive. This was an American system introduced, I believe, I put 1979 there because I've got that for some, but it was certainly around in the early 80s. And it was based upon a touch screen here in which you entered information through a little keypad there. It was humongously expensive, never implemented in the UK at all, and I think the company probably never really made any money out of it. Obviously required a lot of training. You can see there, all the anaesthetists sitting down in class learning how to use it. And it was very difficult. They had to get a sort of every 3 months you could get an update on the configuration. So if you added any staff or added any drugs that weren't there during the intervening 3 months, I don't know what happened. So it had its limitations. But in the UK, there was definitely a desire to utilise computers to try and produce an anaesthetic record. And in the mid-80s, some of us got together at East Grinstead, actually, as it happens. This was a group put together by the Regional Health Authority with the help of this man, who was a Director of Public Health, to try and produce a combined theatre and anaesthetic system. And does anyone recognise that? Him? Mike Fisher, one of the founders of SCATA, right? One of the gang of four. He was an anaesthetist at King's, and together with some others, a director of finance and some IT specialists, we produced a specification for a system. Now, sadly, the funding never happened for this. So Mike Fisher decided on an interim solution, as he called it. The interim solution, which he put together with Tim Peachy, who's somebody you'll know from the Royal Free, and a software developer called Scott Reynolds, developed a system called ARC. And we introduced this in East Grinstead in 1991. This was with the help of some funding. The whole of my career has been looking around for serendipitous bits of money, and this was when audit came in. We said, can we have some money please for anaesthetic audit? Oh yes, you can. So we put in the system, which at that time was marketed by S&W Vickers. So we put this into our theatres, and you can see here it was put on rather specialist hardware. This was actually military stuff. Apparently you could run a tank over the keyboard. But sadly, it may have been very impressively built, but it was not easy to support. It kept going wrong, and in the end, we had to replace it. Oh, just before I do, I just thought I'd show you when we put it in. I asked for audit funding, and my hope would be that at the push of a button, I'd have the answer to life of the universe and everything. We've heard about that earlier this morning, how easy that is to do. But sadly, that wasn't so easy to do at the time. But the beauty was actually being able to sit in theatre and see your record built up before your eyes. In fact, I think this is a work of art, actually. And I do think that some of the modern suppliers today could actually take a look at this to actually see how you can get the maximum benefit from the display of your information on the screen. So, okay, that was the benefit to the anaesthetist. Also, the other people who realised an immediate benefit were recovery nurses. Here was the printed record with everything. You imagine, you compare this with the Johns Hopkins record to a recovery nurse. Absolutely. Although you can't read it because it's really small, but obviously every drug itemised on the time scale, the techniques neatly displayed, fluid balance at the bottom there. Wonderful. So actually, the first two benefits I hadn't really appreciated when I procured the system. So, over the years we've continued, we replaced the original hardware and put it on a standard PC, as you see here, sitting nicely next to the monitor, and you can see the clear display of the trend information. As time goes on, you can see the evolution of our anaesthetic machines. Gosh, yes, actually the mobile phone, so you can see an old it shows updates in, doesn't it? We got our GE Steve machines, and then finally, as it is today now, with our Traeger Zeus machines, I think there's a fifth screen coming, isn't there, Ali? Yes. We're hoping to get Smart Pilot as well, Smart Pilot View, which will be yet another screen. But you can see, but actually, once again, you get this clear display of the trend information built in. I've also got my laptop here. You can't actually see what's on there, but I'm going to come to this later. It's not directly about AIMS, but it's a little hobby horse of mine. On here is the live feed to our theatre list. So I can see here which patients have arrived in the hospital, as you know, as we now work. 90% of the patients are not in the hospital at the beginning of the list. So you can see here when each of them arrives and deal with them appropriately. So here's a photograph of the screen showing you the clear information. Now, this is another of my hobby horses, is to actually maximise the screen estate for that particular picture. Here's another record that was around at the time. It's still around now, but they are re-engineering it. But you can see it just does not give the anaesthetist the information that was on the previous one. And I do think that cluttering up one screen with all sorts of buttons that actually you might use once during the anaesthetic is a complete waste of space. So, that was a little sort of run through the history. Now, so we've seen that we have handwritten anaesthetic records, we have AIM systems, and also, of course, a lot of people print out from the patient monitors. Now, I'm going to ask you to do a bit of work now. How many people actually have proper AIM systems in their theatres? That is... let's come at the back. Oh, yes, people going up there. Okay. That is extraordinary, isn't it? 25 years after we put this in edition, still. Right. How many people print out from the monitors and add it to the record? Okay, another small team. So, okay, come on everyone else. How many people use handwritten records? Look at that. Here we are at SCATA in 2016. That was amazing. Actually, there was a fourth one that I did, which was there's no record. Some places I used to work as a trainee, but this is a long time ago, would just write in the theatre book, gas, oxygen, thing, in the theatre register. Anyway, okay, so just let's have a quick look at the distinguishing features of an AIM system. As we've been discussing, automated capture of the anaesthetic record. That is really what makes the big difference. And, of course, the display of this to the maximum benefit of the anaesthetist. Obviously, you've got to be able to enter data about the anaesthetic and all other techniques, and use it for other things like regional anaesthesia. It needs to be archived centrally, and the ability, in fact, this says the ability to interface to other hospital IT systems. We have a rule in our hospital: we do not introduce a clinical system unless it is linked to PAS. You must have a link to the patient master index in order to get proper quality data. I can tell, occasionally the link goes down or the link isn't available for some reason, and I can tell immediately because the anaesthetist has spelt the name wrong, has put in the registration number wrong, you can tell immediately. So it's so important for quality data to have that link. There is also other systems that you may want to link with, pre-op systems and others, such as that. The other thing that I want to about other IT systems that I don't believe any AIM system does at present, but is a must for the future and certainly should occur with the integrated EPR systems, is to ensure that it is linked to the patient medication record. We administer drugs in theatre that do not appear on the prescription sheet, if we use one, and of course we all know of incidents that have occurred where a drug that was given in theatre is given again, most notably paracetamol, because the nurse didn't see it on the anaesthetic record. If you have a linked anaesthetic system to your medication administration record, that should disappear. And of course, down here, the searchable database. Now, this is just some of the elements that it should involve. There are other things that would be really nice to have. We'd like to be able to attach photographs of, say ultrasound that you've used for your blocks, or a video from your fibre optic intubation. But those are the essential features. So, right, we've established here very few people in SCATA use an AIM system. Just first of all, in order to put in a system, one of the reasons is that, of course, it's very difficult to justify. If you're going to procure a system, you have to produce a business case, and you can produce a specification, that's easy, but you have to also say what the benefits are. So the first one is cash releasing benefits. So what are the cash releasing benefits of an AIM system? There aren't any. No, that is the problem. And also, on the other side of it, I believe that I don't think anyone's made any money out of it either. So that's very difficult. So you have to provide a more circuitous route. You have to look at the non-cash releasing benefits. And it has to be said that of EPR systems, actually, when you do the benefits case for EPR systems, actually, you're often making a guess of what's going to happen. It's not real hard evidence. So the non-cash releasing benefits, you can say accurate contemporaneous recording, high quality trend display, a clear record for communication, continuous recording when busy, links to other systems, and easy retrieval of records. All these are benefits, but they don't generate any money. Now, one of the biggest benefits for our system was actually realised very early in its life. There was a local anaesthetist going around the country who was actually giving, because he could in those days, giving subatmospheric oxygen. He was using 10% oxygen, and patients were coming to harm. One of the places this patient worked was in South Wales, where there was in Newport, I think. I can't remember the place. Anyway, they were able to actually analyse the ARC records and show that he was giving subatmospheric oxygen, and he was struck off. So that's a benefit, and clearly the medical legal implications are significant. So, what do the national bodies say? Now, in 2006, the college and the association produced the saying that computers are useful. It actually said they're useful for audit. This was like I was 20 years previously, wasn't it? Saying, actually, it'd be good for audit, but can't think of much else it's good for. I think we've already established there are other things it's good for. 2 years later, this document, which really was the brainchild of SCATA, the Information Management Guidance for Anaesthetists, and there's been no update on this since. And that said that every anaesthetic machine should be equipped with a computerised anaesthetic system. It took us quite a lot to get the college and the association to agree to put this in, but we put it in. And last year, the latest iteration of the monitoring standards from guidelines from the association was produced, and it's quite interesting looking in the draft of this that is online. If you look at the association website, this number 3 was not there. It says here, a summary provided by all monitors should be recorded on their automatic electronic record systems. Provide a printed copy are recommended. That was not there at all, and it was only after David Whittaker and Alan Aikenhead actually contributed to the discussion that that was put in. So, is Jakob? Is it Jakob? Is he here? You here? No. Well, this was a little contribution which actually really does make the point. Here we are. He says the guidelines require recordings every 5 minutes. In the last 15 minutes of anaesthesia, it requires a solo practitioner to accurately record a minimum of 27 data points. In addition to recording in drugs given, assisting in transfer of the patient, blah, 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 blah. It makes the point quite clearly that you cannot produce a proper anaesthetic record at the busy times of anaesthesia. And of course, where the 2020 NHS 2020 is saying that we will all have digital records. Okay, so that's great. So, in this room, we've found that very few people have anything, but we have no idea of the of how many hospitals in the country use anaesthetic systems. So, with my colleague who's sitting in the front here, Ali, put his hand up, and primarily Pele Benugo. Sorry, I'll come to that in a minute. Sorry, I'm one slide behind. Okay. Just say there are a number of systems available, some of which you will see in the trade exhibition, G-centricity, Save Us Sleep, PISIS. PISIS is, those who've got systems, what do you use? Right, Have I got that? Yes, I've got that there. Yeah. PICES has the advantage of being a complete perioperative system, pre-assessment system, anaesthetic system and critical care system. I've put IMS Maxims at the bottom because that came up on a Google search as having an anaesthetic system. I've been and talked to them, they haven't. But I said I'd plug them anyway, so they were quite keen to develop one. Anyway, there are another, and actually there have been many presentations. Duncan Hancock's, I think, did about in 2006 did a presentation of SCATA. Again, they're about the same number. Some of the names were different, but they're all the same. Oh, and Cerner Millennium, of course, dear old Cerner. Yeah. Actually, St George's, I know, are just putting that in. Anyone here from St George's? No. Yes, somebody here from St George's. Yeah, you're putting that in, apparently. Good. Okay. So, I get to what I was saying just now, that Pele, Ali and Chris are trying to find out how many hospitals actually have AIM systems at the moment. And they're going to, we're hoping to present at this meeting the results of this. Sadly, in order to get the questionnaire through the college so that it could be, so that it could be sent out, that took a long time. So actually, it has actually just, I think, gone out now. So, in your own hospitals, track down, make sure you answer the questionnaire that is coming out. What's that organisation, Ali?
Health Services Research Council.
Oh, the Health Services Research Council, that's right. Yeah. So, and because really, we would really like to know what is the prevalence and what are other people using, what are the downsides, what are the hindrances to procurement. I've identified some of them. And can we ultimately build a better system? So it's a survey with SurveyMonkey. It takes 5 minutes to complete, distributed by HS Area, and it was launched last week. And over the next 2 months, so hopefully at the next SCATA meeting it might be able to be presented. That's just a little screenshot of the rationale behind it. So that's really about what I had to say on that, but I just wanted to go back to, briefly, the operating list, because the other interest I have is in electronic patient records in general. And it's been another spectacular failure of my life, is that I failed to get IT companies, IT suppliers, to understand how the largest specialty in the UK works. Every system that I have seen, certainly Cerner when I was working with the national programme, certainly the system we're putting in at the moment at East Grinstead, you can look for a patient by clinic, you can look for a patient by ward, you can look for a patient by consultant, but can you do it through the theatre list? No, you can't. What do we work to? We have 2 bits of information we work to. We have our rota and we have our operating list, isn't it? With those 2 pieces of information, off we go, hey ho, to work. But the IT systems do not support this. And I think we really do have to try and get through to them that anaesthetists work in a completely different way to other clinicians in the hospital. We're actually, going back to, if you saw that, if I can see if I can find it, that doesn't work, does it? Why doesn't the, sorry, it's fine. No, sorry, let's go, I'll just put that up as a finishing because of course life isn't that easy, is it? One thing we've done, and I was talking to, actually it was Grant, I think, were you saying? Yes, that's right, you've done a similar thing. Taking a feed from your theatre system, which quite a lot of people have done, is putting it on a live display, and then actually it's not difficult to create a hyperlink from that into your electronic patient record. But it is a bit of a workaround, and I wish actually they'd built it in the first place. Anyway, I think I've probably said enough. I'll stop there, and if anyone wants to ask any questions, please do.